I had quite a wide range of experience in my business career, and I felt that I would like to use that in a way to help small businesses. And I also felt that I'd like to keep an opportunity to keep involved in business in a volunteer way. And Dormen, when it came along, seemed to offer me the opportunity to do both those things.
I enjoy working with businesses. I find the idea of understanding how a business works to be absolutely fascinating. So from a content point of view, I'm always excited by getting involved in businesses. I think it's a good thing to do because I think in terms of helping business in the local community, I also feel very positive about.
I was a reluctant retiree and I missed the cut and thrust. So mentoring was the next best thing, perhaps.
I first became a mentor as an opportunity to live outside my own company business that I've been working within for 36 years and see life from a different perspective, which it could endorse my skills and also enlighten me to other people's operational difficulties that I can possibly use myself back in that original business.
During my career, lots of people had helped me and gave me lots of advice, and this was an opportunity to contribute something back. The first issue is to get to know the person, to try to learn what they think their issues are. The financial aspects of it come much later in the process, in my view. That unless you get that understanding of the business, the numbers are just numbers, really.
With anybody that I start with, I try to begin to understand the business, and I do that by simply having weekly meetings, which are usually a couple of hours. And after about 6 weeks, I've begun to have a superficial understanding, but much more importantly, and this was the case here with Phil and Anne, they began to understand more about their business. Because in the situation they were in, on the end of a fire hose with somebody else controlling the flow of water, they hadn't got time to think.
One of the key skills is to listen hard. Certainly within the first few meetings, I tend to be quite sponge-like. You can make big errors just by what you learnt before and what you know, and mother-in-law's research can be just hugely dangerous.
The most important thing, I think, is getting on with the client. If you don't have a certain rapport, I don't think there's anywhere to go. There's got to be mutual trust. There's got to be an acceptance that you're going to ask awkward questions from time to time. But one's got to remember that it's the client who's got to make a decision. You can't make it for them.
Very often they know what they need to do. You just have to put the options clearly on the table and allow them to make a selection, really.
With small businesses like this, there often isn't time to write a sophisticated business plan, to write a strategic plan, but that doesn't mean you can't think strategically and talk about the strategy of the business.
I think you have to have an interested eye on what you're going into here. If you can enthuse, analyse what's going on in the business and pick out the good stuff that's going on and reward the client, if you like, for the things they're doing well. Very often they beat themselves up over things that they shouldn't be. And if you focus on the good stuff, you can then actually address the things that really need doing in a better light.
Listen a lot, absorb, then start to feed back, and then work with the mentor and with the mentee in terms of what the issues might be, but build it always on a base of understanding rather than leaping in at a very early stage with possibly prejudged ideas.
The key thing about mentoring is that it's really all about listening to the mentees and trying to understand how they see their business, and indeed sometimes how they see the world, which may be different to how we see it, and or how I see it, and then responding in a way that is helpful to them, to enable them to come up with their own solutions to their problems, and sometimes that's about facilitating their thinking and facilitating the way they approach things. But it's really, I think, for me, it's about listening to them and encouraging people to believe in their objectives and then find ways of satisfying or achieving those objectives from their own resources.
Phil and Anne are very open in talking about their business. They certainly take on board all the discussions that we have. Whilst I hope I'm not giving any directional elements in their decision making, I'm certainly giving a lot of options, and in between our meetings they do think very carefully about those options, and the decisions that they've taken have certainly been, I believe, as a result of our discussions.
I think it takes up as much time as you want to give to it. Typically I find I'm running 4 or 5 clients, and I tend to like to meet them on about a monthly cycle. I find that works quite well in that it remains fresh from meeting to meeting, but at the same time I'm not in the business too often and I don't get in their way.
I've come to understand businesses in the local community and see them within the local community, in the context of the local community, and that's been quite interesting. I work with 2 or 3 businesses within this broad area, and whilst they're not in the same areas, geographic area exactly, you can sort of see the interplay between one's own life and those individual business communities.
It uses all the experience I've got, clearly. I thoroughly enjoy meeting the people. I'm always amazed what's behind the hedgerows in Dorset. Every hedgerow in Dorset has got a thriving business, and this is one of them. And it's very exciting, and it's really enjoyable. It's fun.
I feel very fulfilled in seeing other people, get benefit from my time. That in itself is very rewarding. And, as I say, I only want to see good things come out of particularly small businesses that are struggling to survive in difficult times. If you can make the difference at no cost, other than you putting in, I think that's a wonderful thing to do. And I would certainly endorse that to anybody who's thinking about doing that.
Most people would think, well, this is great, he's helping somebody else, but in fact it does have a selfish element to it as well, in that you gain from seeing other people develop and move forward, and you also make a lot of friends, of course. And I think my hobby is running businesses, and it's an opportunity to continue to indulge in that without the day-to-day responsibility of having to run it.
The best part is being involved indirectly with the business and being able to listen to what's going on and ask pertinent questions from time to time based on past experiences.
In one sense, it's very altruistic in that we're unpaid. So you could say it's altruistic. On the other, it's very selfish, because the payback is actually 10 times what you put in. When you see the businesses change, when you see the businesses grow, when you see actually how pleased the owners are with those changes, that's a reward, that's for sure.